Hey guys, I'm jumping in real fast. Sorry about the lighting and glare on my glasses. Today's Friday, and I'm jumping in real fast on try number 4 to get this video done on battery safety and vape juice and the difference in battery mods. So this is the vaping video that I was telling you guys about. Alright, so let me get right in because I don't know how much battery time I have. I was right in the middle of it a few minutes ago and the battery died on the other camera, so I had to go get this camera. This is a struggle. Alright, so number 1, battery safety. You hear all the time on the news where people their pants are catching on fire, there's explosions in their pockets, or their, ladies with their purses, or in their carry-on luggage on planes, and yada yada yada. Batteries, okay? Guys, right here, 18650s is, the size of the battery, I guess. And, yeah. Do not put these in your pocket. Do not put these in your purse. Do not put these in your carry-on luggage. Or really, for God's sake, don't put them in your check-in luggage by themselves, just dangling around anywhere. What happens when you put these in your pocket, or wherever it is you're putting them, and say there's change in your pocket, or you have keys in your pocket, or you have other things in your bags, or whatever it is you're putting them in, and they make contact with the ends of these batteries, they will vent, and they will catch on fire, and then explode. So it is not the fault of the manufacturers, it is not the fault of the vaping industry in general, it is purely user error because they're not being handled the way they're supposed to be handled. Get a case. Put the batteries in your case. You can get different types, different size cases. Say if you want 4 batteries, you can get a case that holds 4. Put them in your case, put them in your pocket, put them wherever the hell you want to put them. Now they're safe. You're not going to blow your ass up. Not with these anyway. 2. Also, you see on the news where people are severely burned. I mean, it's bad. Their face is burnt, their hands could be burnt, whatever's going on, because their mods are exploding. The reason for this, again, not the vaping industry, not the manufacturers, it is user error. There are different types of mods. You have what I use and what I only use, which is a regulated mod, which means that it has protections built in, overheating protection, low wattage contestant, low wattage protection. If I got the wrong coil in there, or the coil has a short in it, or it's not right, it will not fire. If you hit the button and hold it in for a few seconds, I think it's like 10 seconds, it will shut off, so it doesn't do anything. And that's it. I mean, this is all I use. I will only use regulated mods. The problem comes in with the mechanical mods. Now, the mechanical mods are normally, I'm sure there's different styles now, but in different varieties, whatever. But they're normally like a canister, like a tube. The battery goes in. There's no chips in them, unless they're getting better at it nowadays. But some of the ones that I've seen, there are no chips. It's basically, how can I put this? It's like a flashlight. You put the batteries in it, put the bottom on, put your tank on top, and 9 times out of 10 with those types of mods, you use the RDA tanks, well, I call them tanks, and the dripper tanks basically. And people will then make their own coil for that RDA. If the coil or the ohms are not correct, bad things are going to happen. You have to know what you're doing. Somebody who has never vaped before cannot just go into a vape shop, get one of these mechanical mods, get whatever they're going to get, build their own coil, not knowing Ohm's law. You have to know your Ohm's law. I'm not that good at it, so I'm not going to get into it. That's why I stick with regulated. And they put this stuff together. They just wrap their wire, not knowing what they're doing, connect it, put it in, drop their juice in, fire it, boom. That's it. And that 9 times out of 10, that is what's happening. Or they're doing that, and the batteries are not right, because a lot of times on the batteries, they can peel, and you have to get new batteries, or you can re-rack them. So, I mean, again, user error. And that is one of the problems with the vaping industry, where the FDA has come in and has said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go back to old school, and you guys in the U.S. are not going to be able to buy mods anymore. They're going to try to tell the companies what kind of mods they can make to their specifications, and they have. Some companies have already complied to a point with some of the new regulations and stuff like that. But let me jump into vaping. Well, most people start vaping to stop smoking. And when they do that, they get a smaller, I got my pen somewhere, I don't know where it is, but normally people will get the little pen style with the little tank like this, and that's how they start. And that is called mouth to lung. So that, I mean, it's just like a cigarette. That's it, just like a cigarette. This is only pushing like 9 watts on that tank, and it's a pretty good tank. I have evolved into, I mean, I still do that, obviously, I mean, I've still got it. But I've evolved to the larger spectrum of vaping, which is known as direct lung. And for that, 9 times out of 10, you got a bigger tank, larger coil. Like that was, say, running around 10 watts or so, 9 or 10. This one I have set to 50 watts. So it's a lot more vapor, much more intense, and a lot of the reasons that people do this is for the different flavors that are out there. And oh, one more thing, by this time you get to this, you should be down on your nicotine. Most people who start out smoking start out on average 20 to 23 milligrams of nicotine in their juice. And as of now, I've been doing it for quite a while, I'm down to, and this is the difference in the type of vape, I'm down to 6 milligrams in a regular, mouth to lung, and 3 milligrams in the big boy. So again, I'll show you the difference between the two. This is the mouth to lung, which is what you start out with. And most people stick with. A lot of people do. I still kind of use that, quite often. Here is the mouth to lung, or the direct lung, and which is only 3 milligrams, and it doesn't. The reason that the difference in the milligrams because there's so much vapor production that you don't need the extra, milligrams of nicotine because you're getting so much at one time. All right. So there's a difference in the vape production and the wattage and all that stuff. So, yeah. And as far as your juices are concerned, let me touch on that real quick. Now that we've discussed battery safety and not blowing your ass up and knowing what you're doing when you're making coils and all that stuff. And I don't know how to do that, so that's why I stick with what I stick with what I know. I'm not going to attempt to try to make a coil, and next thing I know, I'm in the ER with half my face, E-juice. Let's talk about that. There was a thing going around a couple of years ago about diacetyl. It is a flavoring agent that was, or probably and still is, in some of the e-juice. And the news media picked up on that. Some of these researchers came in and said, okay, well, you can get popcorn lung, because we had a guy in a popcorn factory making the flavoring for the microwavable popcorn and did it with popcorn lung. One person. One. That's it. Just one. Had nothing to do with vaping. And to my knowledge to date, as of this video, again, to my knowledge, unless I'm missing something, and I don't think I am, there has not been one reported case of anybody having popcorn lung due to vaping. Period. So it was a scare tactic. They threw it out there, and I've known a few people who were trying to quit smoking. They started vaping. That came out. They went back to smoking. What's worse? So it's almost like they got their way, and sad. Now, a lot of the companies do not put the diacetyl in their juice, and there's one juice that I smoke, and I think it still has it in it, but I'm not worried about it. The rest of the juices I get, I know don't have it, and this, this is a juice by T-Max, and which is, it's a pretty good juice. For the price, it's a good juice. I mean, it's hard to find a 120 ml bottle for like, $10 or whatever. So it's a good juice. And they don't use it to my knowledge. And it's, I don't know, it was just a scare tactic, and it worked on a lot of people. Now the FDA, like I was talking about before, the different things that they're doing, they're trying to put restrictions on the e-juice, and they're trying to put restrictions on the mods, is basically what they're doing. They wanted the companies to go back to old school, like when you would go in the gas station and you would buy your little blue vape pen that already had the stuff in there that tastes like shit. That's what they kind of want to go back to. The companies have gotten smart. Joytech is one of them, and they came out with this little guy. Oh, let me back it up a little bit. They were trying to get the companies to make, a pod system with pre-filled juice in it. So some of the companies were like, okay, fine, you want to go to the pod system, we'll go to the pod system. However, and Joytech did, this is called the Penguin, because it looks like a penguin. It's a pod. It's not a tank, it is a pod. And in the bottom, I don't know if you can see, it has a coil that pops into the bottom of this. And it's just one unit. I don't know if you can see. Let me try and hold this way. There. Anyway. But it's still a pod, and it's refillable. So they didn't say anything about being refillable or not. And this little guy is pretty much on par with the big guy. It has a built-in battery, has a USB charging port on it, and it's got the vent holes on the bottom, so there's no overheating. But it's still regulated. It still has the safety features built in, so. But when I first got it, I wasn't sure how. I wasn't sure how I'd like it because I can't adjust the wattage. It is set to 50 watts. That's it. No up, no down. It's set to 50 watts, and that's all there is to it. But this little guy packs a pretty good punch. For what it is, now it didn't pack that big of a punch because my battery's low, but it's pretty good. The only downfall that I have found with that, between these two devices, is this. The coils do not have as good a flavor. I have the exact same juice in that as I have in this, which is, again, it's the T-Max, and it is the pear cake. And it's pretty good. And with this tank, it's amazing. This is the, excuse me, the Aspire, the Aspire Clito X or whatever. And it's a pretty good tank. And the flavor is really good on that. This guy here is small, convenient. I take it out when I go somewhere, and, even though the flavor is not that great, I can still taste it. But, it's better. And different coils have different flavor. Or better, some better than others, I should say. But, so yeah, I think that's it for now, unless I'm missing something, and I am missing something. This is what I wanted to say, and one of the other tries that I tried to make, and it didn't work out. You hear people, when I'm out and about, outside, walking somewhere, and there are certain individuals who will, oh, that's horrible. Get that away from me. And I'm outside. Number one, I'm not smoking a real cigarette. Number two, I'm vaping outside by the beach or wherever the hell I'm at, away from wherever. But, sometimes these guys can pack a punch and they blow a pretty good cloud. And it's like, oh, you'll be sorry in the future. You'll be sorry when they find out this stuff is killing people. Newsflash. When people go to concerts, when people go into bars and clubs and dance halls or whatever it is they're going to, and you see where they call it the fog machine, and it's so cool. It's amazing. It's wonderful. They blow it out. You're hot. You're out there doing your thing, and all of a sudden this mist of fog hits you, and it's like a cool sensation. Guess what? VGPG. It is e-juice. Period. It is VGPG juice in these fog machines, producing this tremendous amount of fog in these nightclubs and whatever, and concerts, and everybody is fine with it. The only thing that is not in there are the nicotine and the flavoring. Other than that, it is the exact same thing, pretty much. So, I mean, there may be different compounds and different variations on how they do it, and the mixtures that they put in, is, you know, how much VG versus PG or whatever it is they're doing. But in most cases, that's what it is. Now, there are some other ones that are out there that are a little bit different, but for the most part, that's what they're using. So, there's that. And people have no problem with that. You know, no problem at all. They'll sit there and dance and suck up beer and inhale that all day and night long and not have a problem. Which I find funny because some bars will have a sign at the door. But I can see this. I definitely can see this. They have, for the most part, have no problem with the small thing, you know, the smaller regular mouth to lung stuff. But they do not want the these guys in the clubs because, and I can see that because I can see they have their fog machines doing their thing or wherever it is. But if you're sitting in close proximity to somebody and you're doing this and you're rolling out this huge cloud, they don't want it right in, you know. So yeah, I can understand that, but at the same time, I find it kind of like, okay, well, you know, it is what it is. All right. On that note, I'm going to get off here and get this done. Try and get it up and get it out. And oh, one more thing. For you guys that are traveling, mainly on, you know, on airplanes or whatever, when you travel, obviously take your batteries out, put them in a case, and put them wherever you need to put them. Do not leave the batteries in your mod. Take the batteries out of your mod, put them in a case. Take your tank off the mod. If you have juice in there, depending on how much you have, wrap it up in a paper towel, put it in a little Ziploc bag, just in case it leaks. And 9 times out of 10 on an airplane, it's going to leak due to the pressurization. So, we went to Texas a few months ago, and I took, it's over there, another tank. Took it with me, and I took it down, you know, had used enough of the vape, or the juice in that tank. It had just a drop in there, just enough for me to hopefully get to Texas and get to the airport. And when we got off the plane, pop my batteries in and put my thing on and, you know, get a couple of tokes out of it. And it worked out. It didn't leak. Now, on the way back, we got back into Tampa, put everything back on, and went to take my tank out. And I did have a little bit of leakage. And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter because a lot of times, you know, you have a top fill and you have, or your air vents on top or on the bottom. Those are on the bottom. And it did leak a little bit. I had another tank when we went to, did we go to Kansas? Yes, we went to Kansas. And it was a top airflow tank, and I believe it, I think it leaked. I think it gurgled a lot. I can't remember. In any case, due to the pressurization of the planes, they have a tendency to leak. So just take them off the mod, wrap them up in a paper towel, put them in a bag, and you're good to go. So, alright, on that note, that is it. I'm going to get this rendered and try and get it up today. Or tomorrow, rather. And that's all. I will talk to you guys later. Until next time.